I appreciate you guys coming on today. As I was kind of mentioning on the Facebook post and what you can expect today is number one, you guys can all see the whiteboard now, this blank white screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So today will be very kind of whiteboard focused, and what we're going to be talking about today is this kind of kicks off the 4-part series of how to simplify your business. As I've been meeting with agents individually, both with us and without us, one thing that I've kind of looked back at my career and when I'm sitting with them is that our business, it can feel very complicated, right? It feels like there's a million moving pieces. I know at the end of the day, we know that we need to meet people, set appointments with them and then sell them a home or sell their home, right? But if you sit enough in enough real estate training, your head can feel like it's about to explode, right? You go, I got to do this, and then people are doing this, 50 different ways, and I got to do this. And so what I hope to accomplish with this training is to help give you guys some things that, you can jot down and take notes on about how you should be viewing your real estate business. And today will be like an overview, and very soon it'll make sense to you what the next 3 weeks are going to look like, because the next 3 weeks will be the sections we talk about today broken up into those sections, and we dive into those more specifically. So I'm going to start off by writing the following, which is life cycle, right? The life cycle of a client. Okay. I'm going to draw this line right here in the middle, just like this. And I'm going to, Aaron, saw you just jumped on. Welcome, sir. So this line in the middle is the life cycle of a client. And I drew a dot at the very end. And any one of you guys on, just feel free to throw out a number. What would you say our average commission check? Don't worry about taking out the brokerage and all that stuff. What would you say your average commission check is, when you go sales price, and that's what, my co-broke is?
9,000.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So when we look at this life cycle, right, and remember of a client, we're saying, great, I do X amount of things, and at the end of it, if I do everything right, whatever everything may be at the moment, right, there is the potential of making a $9,000 commission check. And I think that's a pretty good number for our market, right? I know it varies from market to market, but I think it's a pretty decent number to run on. So what does that life cycle look like, right? What is it that we're saying is in this life cycle, right? Well, if I draw this dashed line right here, let's pretend that line represents one client has now said to us, hey, Alfredo, hey, Aaron, hey, Christine, hey, Matthew, hey, Alex, I'm ready to buy a home. Like I'm ready to hit the go button. I need a place, right? Or, hey, I need to sell. It's time, me and the husband, me and the wife, myself, I got to sell the place. It's time to go. I got a job offer. I got this, whatever it may be. Right. And you go, yep. Like you've earned that business. Right. So this dashed line, everything this way from this line there is transactional. Right. That is the transactional part of our real estate business, is that line. And Aaron primarily, just, I know we've been kind of coaching one-on-one. I know he knows this. I'm going to sound like a broken record to him, but right, this dashed line, it's very close, right? There's not a lot of gap between that dashed line and that big circle right here, this one right here, right? And the reason for that is because we all know that when a client tells us they're ready, pending anything crazy, right? They're ready. They go, I want to get my home on the market, or I'm ready to buy and I'm qualified. That's very short, right? We're talking, 60 days, 90 days, and that commission check could show up. Would you guys all agree?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So now let's look along the rest of this life cycle. I'm going to draw the same line, but on the other side. Okay. And on this side, everything this way. This stuff over here is the lead gen, right? That is, again, and we're going to clarify this very, very specifically, okay? Everybody to the left of that line, lead gen, very specifically the word lead, okay? Today, it'll be very important to understand the difference between lead versus contact. Might help if I could spell the word contact, right, guys? So, sorry. Okay. So, can anybody tell me the difference between the two? No? Okay. Here we go. A lead, you know of them. I'm going to stop right there for a second. You know of them. You have them on a list that was given to you by the title company. You generated them on a Facebook ad. You are standing right in front of their door because you decided to go door knocking, right? You know of them. You may not know them well, you may not know them personally, right? But you know of them in some shape or form, right? That's why how and why they're a lead. A FSBO is a lead, right? An expired is a lead. You know of them. They exist somehow, right? Something is making you say, that's kind of somebody I want to go after, right? But what is it that the opposite of that is they don't know of you. In my 8 years, the word lead was very, very blurry, right? Is a lead, if somebody was on my team and I handed them a person that I personally have known since elementary school, right? Was that a lead to that person? Was it a contact? Yeah, was it a prospect? Was it a nurture? At what point do you look up and you say they're no longer a lead, but they're somebody in my world, right? In this case, the way I'm kind of defining it, right? Lead versus nurture, right? So that lead, you know of them, but they don't know of you, right? And so when we're lead generating, right? Really what we're trying to do is lead convert, right? We're really trying to lead convert. We're trying to get people to become a contact, right? And you can imagine a contact is, you know of them, and they know of you now, okay? Very simple, right? Okay. Now that contact, you've spoken to them. They go, I understand you're Alfredo. I understand you're Aaron. I know that you're Christine. I know you're Alex. I know you're Matthew, right? And so our goal, right, is how does someone probably eventually turn into our client is we got to turn people that don't know us, that don't know of us, into people that know of us. Right, guys? So over here on the lead gen side, right, I drew that arrow pointing everything left. So, and I'm going to ask Aaron not to answer because I know he knows the answer, but to Christine or Alfredo, this part in the middle, I'm going to draw right here, this part I'm filling in. What do you guys believe that section is?
Nurture.
Love that word. Yes. There's a different word I use, but I love that word. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and write it up. Follow up, right? And so when we look at the life cycle of a client, and now we have our definitions clear, right? You took someone who doesn't know of you, you made them somebody that does know of you. And now the question becomes, can you follow up at such a level, right? So number one, what I just said. Number two, can you follow up with them at such a level that they, three, become your client, right? They transactionally work with you in that life cycle. Okay. Now, if you notice, pay very close attention to even the distances of the lines that I drew on this life cycle. I made this middle part very large for a reason. We all know, well, if we don't all know, then this is your time to learn, right? If you've talked to any agent long in the business, or you've been in the business long, you know that someone could say to you, man, I met that person like 5 years ago. Like, I never thought they were going to work with me, right? Or, man, that person, was a long time ago, right? I got people that I swear were added to my database 8 years ago that, are looking at to use me for the first time. And I look back and had they ever bought or sold real estate before? Is this their first time? So understand, this may be, it could be less than this, but I just like to say this, right? This could be 6 months. It could be 6 years, right? We don't know what that follow-up time frame can look like. So something that I've kind of noticed about real estate agents a little bit, right? This is the difficult part. When we get into the business, people find it hard to believe that we're sitting here saying, call your database, call the people in your world, right? And I know I did it. I fought it. I go, but I don't want to talk to them because I'm new. I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them to judge me. I think I'm bothering them. I'm not saying everybody thinks that. But I've met enough agents in my 8 years that I know that there are people that are literally scared to call their database, right? Some of them may just nod, decide they're going to do it, but not do it. Some of them are very transparent and they're like, yeah, no way. I'm new. I'm not going to disappoint my database. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I need to learn. Right. So I think I want to go disappoint people who have never met me before, I think is what they're saying. Right. And we look up and we go, well, here's the thing. We're not actually asking you to go find a piece of business. This is what no one ever tells you. I want you to know how to do this really well. Call your database, follow up, right? What they fail to tell you is this part. No, chances are you're not going to get a deal through calling your database that first time. What we're really trying to hope, I think what they were trying to instill, I can tell you that's what I'm hoping to instill, as a trainer, as a coach, right? Is for people to understand it's not about calling your database that time because you're going to get a deal, right? You are now setting into motion a habit, what you should be doing for the rest of your life, or at least for the rest of your real estate career, right? I want to share a story of someone that I met with, no names, with another brokerage. And I thought this was kind of, a very interesting story. I'm meeting with him and we're talking about this life cycle. And I go, so tell me, what is your kind of lead gen look like, right? And he goes, yeah, I was calling for rent by owners, for rent by landlords, if you will, right? And I go, oh, like from Zillow? And he goes, yeah, people that are trying to rent.
Can you send me the link? Sorry.
And he goes, yeah, I called for rent by owners because what I was hoping is that maybe they would had a bad experience renting, right? Maybe they were putting it up for the second time. They really weren't crazy about how it went, but they just felt like Yeah, but this is what I committed to. So let me put it up for rent, and I'm going to call them, or I did call them, and hope that maybe if I say, hey, have you thought about selling, they would think about maybe listing the property with me, and they go, I love that, right? Like I'm going to put a box around this just to separate it out, right? The title of this, right? And I go, awesome. So you called these people, and how many did you talk to? He goes, I actually connected, and we clarified, right? I made contact with and ran script, asked 100 of them if they thought about selling instead. I go, dang. I go, that's super impressive, man. I mean, because I'm guessing that you didn't only call 100 people, right? You probably had to call 150, 200, right? So you made contact, right? You lead gen and made contact with 100, right? 100 contacts, right? Because they now know of him, right? By definition, he got them to pick up the phone. He ran the script. Those people, they understood, right? So when we look at this, we go, awesome. Most agents that I meet with fall into this category. So, Mr. Agent, when they told you, how many of those people said, yeah, I want to sell with you? And he goes, none of them, zero. And I go, dang. And how long did it take you to do that? Right? 3 months. 3 months to talk to 100 of them. And I go, got it. So 3 months of work, and they, all of them said no. Now, of course, in my brain, if I'm being transparent, I'm thinking, still awesome, right? I go, so what's happened since then? He goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, like, have you followed up with those people, right? How's that going? He goes, no, I mean, if they said no, like I just moved on to the next. I haven't done anything with any of them. Alfredo, thank you for the thumbs down. Exactly. Right. And so I looked up and I go, okay. So what I heard you say, Mr. Agent, if you don't mind, like I said, obviously we're trying to find those challenges in your business and how we could help you, right? Like how can we help you become a better agent? I think I just heard you say this, right? You lead gen in hopes to get a transaction only, right? Your mindset was transactional. I'm not looking to build a relationship. I just want you to sell a home with me. So, Mr. Agent, let me ask you a question. If you could go back in time, and I said to you, what if you met those 100 people, they still all said no, but we provided you as a platform that helped with this. But again, you still have to have the work ethic, right? At the end of the day, it's still, we can help, right? Obviously, you guys can tell this was a recruiting call. I'm just sharing with you how that went. I go, we can guide you to success. We just can't make you successful, right? You got to do the activities. Okay. So if we could go back in time, would you, hey Josh, thanks for joining on.
Let's go, man.
If you could go back in time to those 100 people, right? And what if you did this? You created in your platform, our platform, you were able to follow up with them, consistently. Right now, 1 year ago, right? You said you did this a year ago with no success. When I had met with this agent, was on the brink of the pandemic, kind of kicking off, if you will. I go, what if you had followed up with them? How many more people do you think, how many of those 100 you did, how many of them do you think you would have closed? How many of them would have been like, hey, Mr. Agent, thanks for staying in touch with me this last year. You know what? I'm starting to kind of freak out about the market. And I don't know if I want to continue being a landlord. Maybe I want to put my home on the market, right? Or maybe they don't want to sell the home. Maybe they look up and say, this is an opportunity, right? Like the rental market's going to become, it's going to boom. Could you help me find a property to buy? Right? Who knows what? I go, Mr. Agent, if you kind of were around a community of people who supported you, right, in this, how many people do you think of that 100 might have done business with you, like right now? Like, how many do you think you could have closed this past year with that follow-up? His answer to me was 3, right? I said to him right then and there, and I go, I want you to understand, if no one's ever said this to you, I'm proud of you that you did whatever it took to get into 100 contacts with those people, right? That means you had work ethic to at least lead generate, right? I believe that if you have the work ethic to lead generate, that you have the work ethic to follow up. The only thing is sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? So when he gave me that number of 3, right, I wrote the word deals because I got a lot of stuff on the whiteboard, right? I don't want to confuse anything. He said 3 deals, and I go, Mr. Agent, validate for me because you gave me the number, right? That $9,000, right? That you gave me that number of what a commission check looks like, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, okay. So, Mr. Agent, real simply, now that you kind of see that on a life cycle, our business is really just made up of lead gen, follow-up, and transactional, right? I go, even if you don't ever decide to join us, right? Like, can you look up and understand the value right now of when you meet someone, you got to follow up with them, right? And that's how they eventually will turn into your client. And we have to look at our business, right? I think, can everybody here agree or raise their hand, right? Like, is this life cycle complicated whatsoever? Like, if you actually now look at your business, you go, yeah, I just need to lead gen. I got to meet people that don't know. I need to go after people that don't know of me, make them know of me, get their permission to stay in touch, do that for however long. But guess what? I plan on being in real estate until, not hopefully till you die, but at least until we want to retire, right? And right, if we do that, they one day will say, hey, Alfredo, hey, Josh, hey, Aaron, hey, Christine, I'm thinking about buying or I'm thinking about selling, right? I go, let me ask you a question, right? In retrospect, if you had the right stuff in place and the right community to support you to do this, let's do some math together, right? Is that $27,000, right? You thought at least, right? Like that, you go, there's no way I don't get 3 deals, right? Right, Mr. Agent? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, I said 3. No, I agree with you. I go, what would $27,000 more than what you had already made done to you and your family this last year? I then challenged him and I said, because you didn't have success with 100 contacts, you stopped, right? Like and again, I'm guessing that number would have been, I'm not saying it would have been more. My point is, I have a feeling, can you validate for me? You told me you did that in 2 to 3 months, right? I'm sorry, not an X, but you did that in 2 to 3 months, right? So that means you stopped. Is that correct? Because you just didn't see the results, right? You said, I gave it my all. I got 100 people on the phone and they all said no. So I gave up. Right. And I apologize, not trying to be harsh here, Mr. Agent, right? I get it. It can be very discouraging. You talk to 100 people and you go, this doesn't work. Am I doing the wrong thing? Right. There is no judgment here, but looking back, you called 100 people, no go, right? He goes, yeah. I go, perfect. What you just shared with me, right? You think that you could have gotten 3 deals from those 100. If you did this all year, right? I'm going to be generous and cross out the 2 and say 3 months. If you had done that all year, right? 12 months, does that mean we can multiply this over here by 4, right? Do we now have 12 deals, right? Because you got into contact with 400, right? 400 contacts, right? Now we don't need to multiply the 9 by 4, right? Because that stays the same, but the bottom does, right? So had you had created a habit, if someone had simplified your business for you and explained to you, hey, right now, I'm gonna steal a thing that really stuck with me from Bold on day one. For you guys that don't know the cycle, right? I'll come back to the part over here, right? Be, do, achieve. And they said something to me. It was really funny. You know, you're just watching somebody on a live stream, and he goes, "Hey, right now, it may be a lot of be, do, be, do, be, do, be, do." Right? He said it multiple times. You're going to do a lot of being. You're going to be being. You're going to be being. You're going to be doing. You're going to be being. You're going to be doing. You're going to be being. You're going to be doing. Right? And that's what our world kind of feels like sometimes, right? We're being and we're doing, right? You know, my coach or my company, they're telling me be a legion, do the legion, be the legion, right? I go, maybe you don't close 12 deals in this last year, right? Because you may not have met a good 100 of those contacts until about 2-3 months ago. But our world is about, we're a rolling 12-month business, right? It's, you know, like we may look and do our taxes every calendar year, right? I go, but what if every rolling 12 months, because of these activities, just from this lead source that you were able to bring in now $108,000 every rolling 12 months. By the way, he still closed deals, guys. He just didn't close any deals from this lead source. Right? He still made money. So I asked him the question, Mr. Agent, what if you made $108,000 more compared to what naturally happens in your real estate business? What's kind of just happening by luck, if you will. Right? And so during these 4 weeks, guys, like for me, what has been very clear is that we tend to overcomplicate things in multitudes of ways. I did it. I probably still do it, but especially when I had my team, I did it. What shiny object is going to fix my problem? Can I go buy this? Can I go buy that? Can I sign up for this? Can this person over here is telling me the shortcuts on how to convert this and all this stuff? And at the end of the day, we can always better our best. So, but what ends up happening is if we don't have strong, right? Like if what ends up happening is in the be, do, have, guys, I want to clarify this. Be is the mindset, do is the activity, and achieve is the result. Right? And a lot of people, they want to be it. They think it, they believe in it, they want to be it, and then they let shiny objects like stop them along the way. Like a wall goes up right here. Right? This wall goes up. And it's almost like at that wall, they come back to wanting to be because that wall was some shiny object. Hey, we can help you lead gen. We can help you convert. We can help you do this, right? Me and my business partner would run into this wall from time to time just because, you know, we said we wanted some kind of shortcut, some pretty thing. And at the end of the day, when we had our best results, is because we then broke through that and went to the do. And ironically, we would go and then all of a sudden we would achieve, right? And then we'd look back and we'd kick ourselves because we're real, like, we're very blunt when it comes to him and I about our businesses, right? Like, we go, why are we so dumb that we keep like letting things get in the way of going to do what we know we need to do, right? And the word, you know, the cliche thing now is that it's simple. It's just, you know, here, it's simple. It's just not easy, right? And today, my goal in this overview is to help you guys understand that it is simple, right? And no worries, Aaron. Thanks for the note. It's simple, right? No, this isn't easy, guys. Waking up saying, what's my planner say? Well, I see like a 3-hour block there. I could make calls. Do I want to? Right? I need to make my care calls. I need to make my cold calls. I need to make my warm calls, right? Like you go, oh, this calling, and it's not, again, I'm gonna slide back over, right? Hey, at the end of the day, 3 things: be, do, and achieve, right? It's simple. Be the person you want to be, do the activities that you know you need to do, and you'll achieve the results you want to see. But I promise you, at least not from me, will I ever tell you that it's easy, right? But we have to simplify it in a way that when you wake up every day, you go, dude, it's not because I don't know what to do. I do know what I need to do. What I need to stop doing is like complicating it, right? Do I want to sell real estate? Then I need to go get in touch with people who do not know of me, make them know of me, and follow up with them, right? During the next 4 weeks, we're going to dive in more details, but I want to make sure that you guys understand some very important things. Each of these 3 right here, right? 1, 2, 3. How do you know that you're doing the right things for each one of those categories, right? We say this: there are 3 things you need to be looking at inside of those 3 things, right? Aaron just jumped off, but we sometimes joke, we'll get on a coaching call, and he'll say to me, right, I need help with 1-1. Right? He'll be like, I need help with 1-1. And I know exactly what he means. And right now, people are like, what do you mean 1-1, right? Maybe you can piece together that he's meaning the one up there and the one I'm about to talk about, right? And so these 3 things, and they are important in this order, okay? So if you go, my lead generation isn't where it needs to be, what is the first thing you need to evaluate? Models and systems. Don't worry, I'm going to touch on that in super detail. The next 2, I believe that number 1 is the one that bothered me the most coming up as an agent. Number 2, that we overcomplicate. I promise you, anything I talk about today is simple, just not easy, okay? Number 2 is technology. I know if I was 3 years in the business, Alex, or 2 years in the business, Alex, and was watching this, I'd be like, wait, why'd you just write down technology? Isn't that what your systems are? Right? Number 3, people. Very simply, each one of these categories, if you're worried about when we look, I'm sorry, let me hit the pause button. When we look at agents or teams that are doing it and we go, man, they're just doing it like at a high level, like they just get it. Why, right? It's because they have their models and systems, their technology, and their people all running at a high level inside of each one of those 3, right? They know they lead generate at a high level because they have the models and systems in place and use technology to, right? Because this flows like this. Right now, people could just be you, right? And it can be just you for a long time. Eventually, right, like me and my business partner when I was on the team our people were our administration, our employees, our agents, right? Can there be external people? There can, right? Your title company, your lender. But for the sake of this, about your business, right? People inside of your business, not external people. This flows with, these are the people that I bring on to leverage the technology that I use to effectively run my models and systems that I have. If anybody's ever told you to use a dialer and you've never used one, you may say, why would I want to use a dialer, right? What they were doing was telling you, get technology to solve your models and systems. if you ask me, right? Hey, if you get this dialer, like maybe that'll get you to making cold calls. Maybe if you use this technology, this will get you to start doing this model and system. But you look up and you go like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, I won't even pick up my own phone. You want me to sit on something that's going to dial 100 numbers in an hour? like, are you insane? But if you ask me, I go, like living without a dialer is like a nightmare. But that's because I now have created a world where I go, well, I know the dials are going to happen. I'd rather use something that's going to make the dials easier, right? In my head, me, Alex, right? And so we revisit this. That's why this order is so important. If you don't have your models and systems in place, and again, don't worry, we're going to talk about this right now. If you don't have your models and systems in place, this technology and having people come and help you with your model, it won't work, right? A, because you just won't let it, right? Because you go, I don't want that dialer, right? I just like to pick on dialers for just the example, right? CRMs are no different, right? Hey, we have the best CRM, and you go, great. What do I do with it, right? Now I look at CRMs and I go, I need the CRM that's, and again, this is Alex talking, remember? Yeah, tell me exactly what your CRM does, because this is the expectation of how I take care of my database. This is how I follow up with them. This is what I send out to them. This is how I provide value. How does your system help me do that, right? The question changes because this, I know, then I'm always, bad habit seeking whatever's going to help it make it better, right? Sometimes to a fault. That can be good and that can be bad at times. And then eventually I may look up and say, if I allow another agent to be a part of my world and, in my business, I have standards of how you're going to use the technology to go after our database, because I have ways that we handle that. And that's my models and systems, right? Now, models and systems, guys, do not complicate this. And I say that like I'm talking to myself, because I know when I was easily through year 5, I heard models and systems and I almost wanted to like put my finger down my throat, because I had heard it so many times and no one's helping me out, right? And I wish that I had Gary Keller's podcast, season 4 of Think Like a CEO podcast. He goes, hey, guys, what do you do when you wake up in the morning, right? When my routine is my alarm goes off. I have it set to my favorite album on Spotify, right? That's what I wake up to. I get out of bed and I walk over and I lock the door because I don't want my kids coming in while I'm getting ready, right? I know they're out there watching TV with my wife. So I lock the door and I start getting ready, right? Let me take it one step further. I'm in the shower, and we all have our shower routine, right? Like, we all think that everybody's doing it the same way. Like, yeah, you wash your hair, right? Then your body, then you get out, right? But we all have our routine in the shower, right? You may not know it, but that is your model to how you get ready, right? We all have models. We have a saying here, right? Breaking through from E, right? And breaking through the ceiling to P. That E stands for entrepreneurial and the P stands for purposeful. We tend to have models and systems that are very entrepreneurial. You know what? I think this would be a good idea. I'm gonna go do it, right? I'm gonna go start working out. I don't know what I'm gonna work out. I'm just gonna go work out, right? I think I'm gonna go and hit the treadmill, and maybe I'll grab a weight, and I don't know. I see people benching. I don't know. Now they're squatting and deadlifting. Maybe I'll give that a shot, right? Like, you go, hey, even though that's kind of like self and health, that is being entrepreneurial. You are saying, I'm going to go do this for myself instead of waiting for someone to tell me to do it. Right? That's how we are as real estate agents. All I know is that I'm going to go sell some homes, right? I don't have a boss. I may have to hang my license at a brokerage, but I need to go find people that want to buy or sell a home. I think that's what I need to do. Yep, that's what I'm going to go do, right? And we go, great, how are you going to do that? And you go, what do you mean? There's a way to do it. Well, I mean, yeah, there's like 100 ways to do it. What's your way? Right? And so don't complicate models and systems to anything but these following things: a checklist, your to-do list, your habits, your standards. I'll go ahead and write in there your mindset, right? If I broke that, if I actually kind of went backwards, right? Let me give you an example of our model when we were calling, when we, including my agents, what they knew was our model for our Facebook leads, right? Our mindset was that we could generate Facebook leads and bring people into our world based on the listings that we had or that we could market, right? And that if we brought those people in, that we could try to reach out to them and explain to them that we understood that they were probably doing the internet version of window shopping right now, but that we know, right? We know that they could be 6 months or 6 years away, right? But what we know is that this phone call doesn't give us the right to earn their business, but we want to stay in touch with them over that time frame, however long it may be, and that hopefully that if we provide enough value, that when they do decide it's time to buy or sell, we have the right to earning their business or the privilege. And we believe that if we did that with enough people, we would generate enough business, right, of people that we could follow up with however long, because we planned on being in real estate until we were retired, that we build up a big enough database that we would have a good revolving door of people coming in saying, I need to buy or sell real estate, right? It's now time. Thank you for staying in touch with me, right? And that was our mindset. And that's what we did. And our standard was that for every, basically, for every 100 people we called, we expected 14 of them to pick up. And then we knew of those 14 that pick up, that our script was so good that 60% of them would say, absolutely, you can stay in touch with me. Right? Those were our standards. We had this mindset. We had our standards. Our habit was we called our people every day, but what we did was we created almost like the equivalent of agent on duty here for those of you here at our office. We had a schedule that our agents signed up for to call the pot of people that had never been contacted with, right? We were very effective that way. So no one agent ever felt that they called one person 30 times. They just felt like they were just calling, and it could be somebody that had only been called once or 100 times. It didn't matter because we had our numbers and we had a standard that we knew that we had to call people 30 times, because even with doing that, on average, our best leads picked up on the 17th attempt. Right? And that's what we did. That was our to-do. Call until we hit these standards, right? And we had our checklist on what it is that we were going to accomplish every day, right? That was our model for that part of our business. By the way, what I want to share with you guys while we're doing this, during this time together, this month, right? Do you think that it would be a good idea, or do you think that that was a really bad square. Give me, I can do better than that. Okay. Do you think it would be a good idea to maybe start a manual of those things? Do you think it would be good for you? And I mean, what I mean by good, I don't mean just like beneficial. I mean like empowering, impact your mind and how you think about what you need to do every day. if you maybe started, I'm going to use the word, it sounds really grown up, very corporate, like, but should you start an operations manual about how you do business? So do you think we had a one-page manual of everything I just shared with you on how we did Facebook leads? You know that when an agent joined us, we could hand them this page and say, this is what we expect.
Good idea.
Thank you. And so now, you know, we got to the point, I'm not telling you this is what you need to do. I had employees that did this for us because I promise you, me and my business partner never would have, right? Like, this is why we hired people, because we needed people to help us execute on our ideas. We were the idea people, but, you know, like, sit around and do it, right? We knew who we were, so we went and hired for who we needed. These manuals all were retyped and added to Google Drive, right? And over here, we'd have those things, boom, 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 boom. And you can imagine, hey, when you sit down to call, this is your mindset, this is what we're looking to accomplish, and for every X amount of people, here's what you should expect, right? And this is what you should say, here's your script. And then if they agree to be followed up on, then you need to follow up. And I'm gonna write the word C, follow up. And because we had it in Google Drive, what we did was, this would be a link to the follow-up manual, right? So people could literally start on one page and they were probably getting redirected to another page. I know that's getting a little high tech. I just want to share with you a vision of what's possible, right? Right now, it could just be your notebook. You open up a notebook and you go, when I call FSBOs, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, right? When I call, sounds good, Christine, thanks. When I call people, whatever people is, when I call my database, when I call FSBOs, when I circle prospect, when I door knock, when I open house, maybe you have a checklist of what you expect to accomplish every single time, right? Let me bring it to an example that could be a little bit more real, right? I know I'm kind of talking about lead gen follow-up a lot. Again, I think that's where our bread and butter is, right? Like, people don't lead gen follow-up enough, right? It's funny, I go, hey, I'm not calling you because I think we could help you be a better transactional agent. If that, I think anybody could, like, you could go on YouTube and probably be a good, you know, like, learn to be a good transactional agent, right? The question is, how is 1 and 2 going, right? And so, but let me use transaction as an example. Have you guys ever had a pair, you know, like, let's say 3 or 4 clients, whether they've closed or not, you have 3 or 4 clients, and you look back at the week and you go, you know, I did that really well with that person. Like, I sat down and did a consultation, but I let that go a little bit differently. And I just started showing them homes. I didn't have them meet with me first, or, you know, right, like, you deviated a little bit and you fell outside, and one client doesn't feel as good as the one that you kind of went through the right process with, right? Or a listing, right? You have one listing, it seems like so slam dunk at first, right? And you go, oh, maybe I don't need the video walkthrough on this one. Like, you don't keep to your model of what you do with a listing, right, on one that you did the other. And long and behold, you circle back and the listing doesn't go as you thought it would. And now you're questioning, is it because I didn't do that, or that, right? We have our models, right? Back to the E to P, right? Like, we go, we know that we have all the good intention in the world that we're going to take care of our clients. I don't doubt that with any agent. Like, you have a client and you go, I'm going to do my best. Like, I'm going to go and do my best. I'm going to actually, right? I'm going to be the best agent for that client, right? But we don't have a consistent way that we're looking at things. We don't have, I'm just going to pick the word operation manual, right? Choose whatever terminology you want. But because we don't have, like, really that place we look at, a checklist, a to-do list, tasks, right? that you accidentally forget to do a couple things for someone, right? And now when you're doing it, right, you don't do it the best you could. And you go, not because I didn't want to, I forgot. I forgot I should have done a video. I forgot I should have posted on social media. I forgot, etc. And now our achieve part looks a little bit differently with each individual client, right? And I think all of us here, right, not to speak for anybody, but I'd like to believe as you're sitting here being trained on this, you go, yeah, like it's simple. If I did have this written down, very simply, I could do the same thing for every client every single time, right? It's just not easy because, it's human nature. Again, we naturally first will be entrepreneurial, right? Before we look up and say, how do I become purposeful? Right? And that's why I didn't just draw a straight line, right? Because we have highs and then we have lows. And to be honest with you, when we have higher highs, we really have lower lows and then we break through, right? That's, and you've all seen it, right? When we say, hey, the goal is here, right? And this is the starting line, right? We all know we should go like that. And really we kind of go like this outside of the boundaries, right? And then like, I know it seems goofy on paper, but it's what we're doing out there, right? So now you look up and you go, great, what do I do? Well, I can start by everything that I do, number one, right? I kind of just want to clean this up. I know I did a lot of writing, right? But my business, I'm going to write LG. We all now know that's lead gen, right? My business is in 3 sections. And if I have a problem, if I'm having a challenge, right? If I need clarity, it most likely is going to be, it's actually most positively going to be one of these 3. Right? Without a whole bunch of lines and everything and circles and everything drawn. There's our real estate business in the most cleanest format ever. Right? So you look up and you go, if I'm not accomplishing this at the level that I want, which one is keeping me from doing that? Right? And okay, if my follow-up is not as good as it could be, right? Is it my model or does my technology? No, I got a great model. I think I follow up with people effectively, but like maybe I don't have the right technology reminding me to do it, right? Like chances are it's going to be your models and systems first. Not first because it needs to be first because yeah, we all can work on our models and systems, which again, now that I've shared what those, right? Can our mindset be better? Can our tasks be better? Can our being and doing be consistent to go achieve what we want, right? Because, right, now we look, Keller Williams has models that we hope you guys like, I don't want to use the word buy into, just now have a different lens, right? When this is shared with you, you now go, oh, that's why they tell us that, right? Like, for example, we say it is 19 times to connect. When you're lead genning, you then cement the relationship. And then over here, we say it's 36 to convert, right? And now you look at that, and trust me, I've been there, very easy to like roll your eyes at if it didn't actually have any value or why to you, and you go, oh, right? That's why I like to share my Facebook story, because I go, yeah, we called people 30 times because on average it was the 17th time that they answered. By the way, that was just phone calls, didn't include the texts and the calls and all that other stuff, right? It was just the calls that we were really tracking, even though we automated emails to go out every week and texts to go out every other day, right? Like it was always the calls that people, that we still averaged 17. Maybe it's because we did the texts and the calls that it wasn't 19. Just a thought, right? Maybe it was the other touches that, behind the scenes that helped keep it down by 17 for us instead of 19. But you look up and you go, yeah, am I trying to, hey, command, right? Lead accelerator helps us generate leads for $1 to $2. Absolutely mind blowing. But if you're not, what's the point? And then when you do connect with them, you cement the relationship however you do. No one should, and guess what? We keep this open like this for a reason. We don't say, call them and say this exactly to cement the relationship, because we're all different. Right? Some say I cement relationships by taking them to lunch. I take them to coffee. I'm just that good on the phone that they love me before they hang up. I cemented it right then on that call. There's no right or wrong answer there. Just know that you still have to cement a relationship, right? Because when you get the permission and you cement it, now, how many people have said to me, oh, okay, I got it. So like I got these people in my database. I mean, they haven't heard from me in a very long time, right? Like, I don't know, if they like me or not, but so basically I should just start doing like the 36 touch, right? Because they know of me. And I go, yeah, if you're a fan of unsubscribes from your email list, I go, you think it would be better if you kind of revisited the people that you haven't stayed in touch with and almost viewed them as leads? I know they know of you, but you think maybe you should call them and, re-cement the relationship so that when you do this, they're not looking at you like a bunch of weirdos, right? And now you go, oh, hey, this whole thing, right? This kind of like plugs in right here. So I'm lead genning, and then I'm following up and I'm doing a 36 touch here, right? And I'm doing it every, 36 times a year, and I'm doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it until they finally look up and say, yeah, help me buy or sell a home. And that's how, to wrap this up, and what this 4 weeks will be about, is how do we effectively figure out this box of stuff, right, for each one of these, so that we can be relational agents instead of transactional agents. How we know why we want to lead gen. Because by the end of this, I hope that everybody has a takeaway, at the end of the 4 weeks of, got it, I'm actually just staying in touch with people, because if I build a relationship, I will fortunately be able to create a business, right? Me having a life worth living for me is like these parts, right? When you hear that in our belief system, right? Lead gen, follow up, but do it genuinely, do it authentically. Like, I'm checking in with you to see what it is going on in your world, right? A lot of people that if you've been on Bold the last couple of days, people are like, you're being, you guys are, it's funny seeing the comments, in a digital world compared to in person. People are sharing their opinion at a high level in the group, right? And in the Bold class, people are like, this is unreasonable. How are we supposed to have 40 contacts? Why are you having us call like almost everybody like in this month, this 6 weeks? And I think what everybody's missing, right? And rightfully so, because guess what? I've been there. I wish somebody would have showed me this, and I hope it's benefited anybody watching today the same it has for me, is being like, yeah, it really isn't that complicated. Like, I really just have to sit down and say, what is my model system when I lead gen? What is my models and systems when I follow up? Ooh, you know what? I thought I had good models and systems when I work with a client, my transactional, but maybe I could clean that up, right? And now you go, yeah, if I look up and I'm unhappy, it's not the worst is being unhappy and having no direction. This graph, this chart, this life cycle, whatever you want to call it, you now can always say, yeah, I got a lead gen problem, or I have a follow-up problem, or I have a transactional problem. Great. What is my problem within those? And what I was getting at with the bold thing just a little bit ago is, hey, what we're trying to tell you is, do you think that during this pandemic is your most opportune time to actually genuinely call and simply ask how people are doing? Could you right now literally hopefully you yourself as a human are just saying, I don't care if I get a deal or not, I really just want to know how they're doing. If they bring up real estate, like, I mean, I'm not going to ignore them. That's not my intention when I call, right? And bold is looking up and saying, hey guys, hopefully we're at the end of this. Hopefully there's not waves of this. But the point of the real story is, can you actually, every time you've looked up and said, really, my script is, you want me to just call and ask them how they're doing? I do. I do. Yeah, call them and ask them how they're doing. Because I bet you none of us, our phones are not blowing up with other industries asking us how we're doing. So I know it's 11:04. We started at 10:05. That's why I went to 11:05. But we're going to dive into each one of these, right? Again, 1, 2, and 3. This will be next week, the week after, and then the last week, right? And we're going to dive into that about what that looks like, for each one of those, and what some habits we can create, what things we can do. So I appreciate you guys that joined on. Like I said, I'll be sure that this is recorded and I'm going to put it up on our YouTube channel so that you guys have that. And as a matter of fact, I'll try to send this out to you guys as well, so you have like the whole whiteboard of it as well. But Alfredo, thanks for sticking around. Do you have any questions on any of the stuff that I went over?
This is great. This is the kick that I needed.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.